Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Big Ten Under 10 on the Hoosier Network. My name is Adam Oppenheim alongside Graham Nash, bringing you more updates from the Big Ten Conference. Today, we're going to talk about women's sports, so let's get into it because we have a lot to get to. Let's start on the court with volleyball. We're going to go through the scores from the past week, and then Graham is going to discuss what these games mean for the conference. The second-ranked Nebraska Cornhuskers swept Illinois 3-0 on Friday. They followed that up by winning on Saturday 3-1 versus Michigan. Right behind them at number 3 is Penn State, and the Nittany Lions won in 5 sets against UCLA last Thursday. Penn State won on Saturday 3-1 against the USC Trojans. Another top 10 team in the Wisconsin Badgers continued to roll as they win at Indiana in straight sets. Wisconsin also swept Purdue on Saturday as well, and they still just have one loss on the season. A new addition to the Big Ten, the Oregon Ducks swept both Maryland on Friday and Rutgers on Sunday. In West Lafayette, Purdue took down Ohio State in straight sets last Wednesday. As for the Golden Gophers, they swept the Wildcats on Wednesday and went into Columbus and took down the Buckeyes 3-2 on Sunday. The Huskies of Washington defeated Rutgers and Maryland Friday and Saturday, both 3-1. Some other scores around the Big Ten include the Michigan Wolverines sweeping the Hawkeyes in Iowa City 3-0. As well as Illinois taking down Iowa in 4 sets. USC lost a thrilling 5-set match to Michigan State. The Spartans also dropped a match in straight sets to UCLA. Graham, let's turn to you. We got about a month left of the regular season. What are you expecting?
It's going to be good. It's going to be a good one. We've got a couple new teams now in the Big Ten, of course, and Big Ten being the premier volleyball conference. It's going to be fantastic as per usual. I see it going one of two ways. I've got it kind of into a two-tiered list. In my first tier, Nebraska and Wisconsin. Those are the two teams that I think have the best chance to win the Big Ten, not just because they're really good at volleyball as they are, but because they're used to winning. They've done it since the end of COVID. It's been those two teams who have won in the conference. Wisconsin, they did it in 21 and then 22, and then Nebraska, they did it last season. So they know what it means to win, and they know what it means to come up in big moments. And so for that reason, along with all the talent they have, that's why I put them in my first tier. But there's a second tier of really talented teams. One, the undefeated Penn State Nittany Lions. They are fantastic. And then also the Oregon Ducks. They're a very good team. They've done a good job of getting used to the pace of a very fast Big Ten conference. But the reason I didn't put those two in, we'll start with Penn State. I don't think that Penn State has the size to compete necessarily with your Nebraska or with your Wisconsin. Those two teams just are so tall. They can put a block in front of anyone in the conference, and I don't feel the same about the Nittany Lions. When Penn State came to play Indiana, Indiana was bigger than them, and Indiana is kind of a middle-of-the-pack team as far as height goes. So I think that for that reason, it's going to be hard for Penn State to really take it to the big teams when it comes down to it. And then for Oregon, I just don't think that they're used to the pace yet. I think that's going to really come down to it, is that Wisconsin and Nebraska, they can play their game better than Oregon in the pace that they're used to, in the pace of the Big Ten Conference. So, you know, it's going to be tough. They're 4 really good teams, and anyone could win. It just feels like for Penn State and Oregon, more has to go right for them to win the conference, whereas Wisconsin and Nebraska, they can just play their game and really go for it. And also, hey, Nebraska and Wisconsin, they're playing this Friday, so we'll get a good look at which one of those two teams has the advantage. But I think it's going to be one of those two at the top.
2 tiers, I like that. So let's move on from the court to the field and talk about women's soccer. I'll run through the scores from the past week, and Graham, you can let us know how it's going to shake out. All the Big Ten games in the past week happened on Sunday. A top 10 showdown in LA as 4th-ranked USC defeated 9th-ranked UCLA 1-0. Another top 20 team in action was Michigan State, and they won a ranked showdown against the Purdue Boilermakers 3-1. Minnesota pulled off an upset, taking down number 17 Iowa 2-1. The 10th-ranked OSU Buckeyes cruised in Columbus, winning 4-1 over Penn State. A handful of unranked matches were in action as well. The Scarlet Knights drew with the Terps 1-1. Washington blanked Oregon as they defeated the Ducks 3-0. Wisconsin shut out Michigan 1-0 in Madison. The Illini won the in-state battle against Northwestern, scoring 4 goals in their 4-1 victory. And Nebraska scored 3 in their win over Indiana. Graham, only a few games left on the schedule. What are some of your takeaways from the 2024 season?
I'm going to sound like a broken record, but there's 2 tiers once again for these teams. At the top, in the first tier, the West Coast teams, USC and UCLA. They have been fantastic. We kind of talked about with volleyball the speed of the Big Ten. The speed of the Pac-12 in soccer is unreal. That's exactly right. USC and UCLA, they play so fast, and they have total disregard for human life. They don't care how you like to play, what pace you move at. They move faster. And so I think for that reason, those two teams, they're going to dominate when it comes to the end. But don't count out Iowa and Michigan State. Those are two other very strong teams. They're probably, not very happy right now with the way things are going because they could be at the top if those Pac-12 teams didn't make it in. But they're very strong teams. They've got great offenses. But what sets the West Coasters apart is the defense. Those two have unreal goal differentials. Their defense is just so strong. And so I think at the end of the day, it's going to be hard to take down the Bruins and the Trojans.
Those two teams sure score a lot of goals, and they do not give up many at all. The final women's sport that we will tell you about is field hockey. It is a stacked conference in the Big Ten in 2024 with 8 out of the 9 Big Ten teams ranking in the top 25. Let's start in Evanston with the second-ranked Northwestern Wildcats. They demolished Michigan State 5-0 on Friday. 6th-ranked Maryland played 2 non-conference matchups in the past week. On Friday, they lost 2-1 to the 12th-ranked Princeton Tigers. The Terps bounced back, shutting out the Richmond Spiders, though, 3-0 on Sunday. A top 25 showdown in Columbus is number 11 OSU defeated number 24 Indiana in 2 overtimes on Friday by a score of 2-1. However, Ohio State lost at home 3-0 to Iowa on Sunday. The 14th-ranked Wolverines lost 2 heartbreakers. They lost on Friday 2-1 in overtime to the Wildcats and dropped to IU 2-1 in Ann Arbor. 13th-ranked Rutgers won a low-scoring affair against number 18 Penn State 1-0. Another OT match in the Big Ten as 19th-ranked Iowa lost 2-1 in overtime. And that's going to do it for today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at B1G_under10. And check back in on Monday for our next episode of Big Ten Under 10.